Hey now! It is an exciting day. It is Nuts and Bolts Day, which is a family favorite around the house here. Especially around the holidays, we like to make up a big batch, separate it out, give it out to friends and stuff along with Christmas gifts, and I like to eat most of it by myself. Anyway, it's actually really easy to make. I said nuts and bolts because that's what it was called when I was a kid. Some people do a variation called Chex Mix. I don't know what you would call exactly what I'm doing, and I don't care because I'm not hung up on the label. I just know it's freaking delicious. What I'm going to do today is sort of a sweet and spicy version of it that I find is a really great balance between the savoriness, the spiciness, and just kind of like a sweet pop that cuts through the heat. You don't really need any specialized equipment other than what I've got here is just a large chafing dish. You can also just use like a large roasting pan, and then I really do like this particular scoop or scraper just because it's really easy to manipulate stuff. Anyway, step number one though is I've just got a small pot here. I've got a pound of butter plus 1/3 of a cup. I find this is a really good ratio for the amount of stuff I'm going to use. So I'm just going to take it over here to the stove and I'm going to get it turned on here, kind of on a medium-low heat just to get it melted. And once it's all melted, we'll be ready to add some extra ingredients. Okay, so while your butter is melting, it's time to mix all the cereals and the pretzels and all that fun stuff. So the brand doesn't really matter, but what I've got going on today is wheat squares here, 4 cups of those, and actually all the cereals are 4 cups. So I've got Cheerios, there are Honey Nut Chex, and that'll help give a little bit of sweetness to it. Same thing for the Life here, because that's nice and sweet. And I've got a full box of cheese bits to go in there, and then 5 cups each of like barbecue. These were Hoops, it's just some kind of barbecue-y flavor thing for some nice savoriness, and then 5 cups of pretzel sticks as well. This can all just kind of get jumbled up a little bit here, and yeah, now we're just ready for the butter mix. So you can see my unsalted butter here is nicely melted, so it's time to add everything else. I'm going to start off with the honey, so it's a 1/4 cup of liquid honey. Just want to get that all into here, and that's just going to help punch up the sweetness again, just to help balance out against the spiciness of the hot sauce. There we go. That in there. And then I've got hot sauce. I'm using Sriracha here because it's nice and thick. I also really like the flavor of it. And I'm going to call this a heaping 1/4 teaspoon. Pardon me, 1/4 cup of hot sauce there. You can go as high as a 1/2 cup, I think, and it would be really nice and spicy, but again, my family wouldn't enjoy it. It would just be me. I've got 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. That'll go in there. And then I've got a tablespoon of garlic powder, garlic salt, and then a teaspoon of onion powder. And that will go in there. And that's it for the seasonings. All I need to do here is just whisk it together so it's all nicely blended. Now meanwhile, I've got my oven preheated to 250 degrees. I'm just going to reorganize over here in a second, and then I'm going to dose the cereal. So I'm all set up at the oven here. I've got this awesome sauce that already smells beautiful. I snuck a little taste of it. It's got everything I'm looking for. Just drizzle it over top. And then you want to give it a really good mix right now. We're going to be mixing this during the bake as well, but you want to give it a good initial mix just to help evenly distribute it. So I'm just going to mix it for a couple of minutes here, and then we will check in on it again. So this has been, right around 2 minutes. You can see everything's pretty nicely distributed. You get a nice glistening sheen on everything here. So the trick is I'm going to put this in the oven, and every 30 minutes I'm just going to be bringing it out and giving it a nice little toss like this to help everything cook evenly. And my guess is we're probably going to be around 2.5 hours cooking time just because of the volume here. If you are splitting or halving or whatever this particular recipe, it might likely take you less time than that. You might be down to 1.5 hours or something like that. Just use your common sense with that. So anyway, in the oven we go, just on the center rack. Plunk it in there and set a timer for 30 minutes. Okay, we've had half an hour. As you see up here, I'm cooking spaghetti. Dinner waits for nobody around here. All right, so it's been 30 minutes, and I'm just going to give this a gentle toss. You can see why I like this particular utensil. It digs under really nicely. I'm just going to have to flip this around here because I'm right-handed. I'll just keep flipping all this, like so, and then it goes back in the oven for another half hour. Just even it out nicely. There we go. This is smelling amazing. And back in. All right, so after an hour so far, you can see they're starting to brown up kind of nicely there on the top. They're still definitely feeling moist here, so that butter and everything hasn't really baked in and hardened yet. That and the hot sauce and all this. The nice thing about this recipe is you can change up the ingredients if you want. If you want to use different cereals or try out some other different funky additions, even some nuts or something like that, it's totally possible. If you keep the ratio of like the cereal stuff to the butter mixture, you're good. So anyway, that is good. I'm just going to toss it back in the oven for another half hour. All right, the hour and a half mark. They're a little bit firmer, but still definitely some moisture going on here. So I'm just going to quickly give these a spin. We'll go in for another 30. And we'll see what they're like then. All right, beautiful. All right, so we've had 2 hours now. Yeah, there's still a bit of moisture in here. I think I'm going to give it probably another 15 minutes or so. I'll check on them. I probably won't leave them more than half an hour before they're really done, but I'll check in 15 and see how they're looking here. Whew, smelling amazing though. All right, so I checked on it in the 15 minutes and it wasn't quite done yet. So I did give it that full extra half hour. So this is after 2.5 hours. This is just beautifully browned up. And oh, it's taking everything in me just not to eat it right now. However, it is important just to let it cool down. Because it's getting late here, I'm probably just going to let it sit overnight, and then tomorrow we can dig in and sample. All right, I can't lie to you. I waited about 15 minutes before I started to dig into these. There was no way I was going to wait. Yeah, these are just absolutely beautiful. Everybody's different. They're sweet, they're smoky, they're toasty. You have this slow build of spiciness that happens as you just consume bite after bite. Absolutely super fun to make. They're great because you can just vary them up, play around with ingredients, play around with levels of honey, levels of the hot sauce, even levels of roastiness. You might want to go a little bit less, maybe a little bit more, but either way, you're going to have a good time and please everybody around you. So until next time, keep it at 11.